All right, party people, here we are. A bit later than was planned, but I think we can just write it all off as some sort of advanced obfuscation technique so that no one really knows where we're located. We'll just air at different times. Sometimes it'll be midnight, sometimes it'll be 1, sometimes it'll be 12. You'll never know. We'll think in doubles and we'll be nowhere. That's a good excuse, right? People will buy that.
I think so. I believe so.
Good.
I believe so. I mean, it's free, right? And people like to buy things that are free.
Yeah, people also like to bitch. That's justifiable.
I mean, that's free too.
You wouldn't happen to
Like
have your.
assholes.
I'm sorry.
Just like assholes.
That's true. Yeah, that was an old thing. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, but we all seem to forget the fact that some people clean and wash theirs and some don't. You wouldn't happen to have the stream open,
Some
would
of
you?
us, the stream is still on Pinball FX3 stream from yesterday.
Hmm.
Click again. Let me
Oh
double
yes.
check. My
I want you to
Wi-Fi
see.
might be
I
out
want you to see
today.
my beautiful little creation. Look at my baby. Look at my sweet little baby. They're so young. He's already walking.
Oh, you put it on. Oh, we have a guest. Let's.
Hello.
Oh, this is working. Why can't I see it?
Oh, we've been joined by our master of ceremonies as well. Welcome to a special late nights. If you could see on the stream, I found a computer-generated AI that combined essentially Bulbasaur with my trainer image to create Jaspamon.
Oh my goodness! Whoa!
Oh wow.
I can't tell what is on his
Medium.
face.
Oh, I mean, that's the beauty of AI-generated art. You know, if you look too closely at it, you'll very quickly realize that none of it quite makes sense. But as long as you don't zero in on any one particular part of it, it looks like a complete image. You know, like dreams.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, I like that it has like parts eyes kind of under its eye hole. There's like at least like 6 eyes under there that you can kind of see through 3 different slits. Right.
Oh yes. Well, maybe it's like one of those weird,
Um,
one of those weird monsters that has a like a different magical spell for each eyeball.
You have
yeah.
to pull out its eyeball and then light it on fire and throw it at you, and that's a fireball.
It's definitely got that vibe that a lot of Japanese horror does, where like, you know, on the right, its left hand looks kind of like a hand, but on the right hand is just a weird bulb of bones or something.
I mean, yeah, kind of like that tail thing it has.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice the tail. Huh.
It doesn't even look like the tail's coming from the back. It looks like it's coming from the leg.
Well, at least it's not like Mewtwo, where the
Why did I choose?
what?
I was just thinking to myself, why did I choose the tail?
At least it's not like Mewtwo, where the tail might be his you know. Well,
All right.
His
So I guess that's what happened to Mr. What's his name? Bill, the guy on top of the Nugget Road and Generation 1, 2, Red, Blue, whatever. I guess that's what happened to him when he merged with was it a Clefairy or a Genghis Khan? I can't remember what he merged with.
oh my God, Hocus, you're right. That is exactly what happened to Bill when he went all like the fly. Jeff
Well, that's
Goldblum's the
what you
fly.
need to do. You
Fly.
need to do. The same way you took a picture of your avatar and a Bulbasaur, you need to take a picture of whatever the Pokemon was, and then the Bill avatar.
And find out
The
what Bill was turned into.
the 8-bit Bill avatar, yeah, and see what he turns into with that whatever it was. Was it a Psyduck? I can't remember what it was he turned into.
I think it was a Clefairy in this remake. I don't know. I gotta go to JCPenney for Pokemon to get basic supplies again.
Bring your mom and her J.C. Penney's card this
Yeah.
weekend at J.C. Penney's Pokeballs on sale. Buy two, get the third one at wholesale price, which is regular price.
JCP, ride the wave.
Wasn't there a JCPenney ad for like Mad TV or something years ago that was advertising nothing but clothing for kids rooted around well, how do I put this? Rooted around um, avoiding school shootings, like a bulletproof poncho that looks like lockers.
I mean, that sounds real enough to me.
JCPenney, cause killing's in style.
Yeah,
See, J.C. Penney went wrong when they became a school for children because then the gunmen were like, "Oh, we can go shoot kids at J.C. Penney, and we can get a nice, stylish pair of shorts."
I could go for
J.C.
that.
Penney's
too
are shorts
much
of the
there for
perfect
violent
length.
people. They have great shorts for when you jump in fences and trying to get away.
Exactly. Look, if a gunman's gonna shoot you like in the thigh, I hope it happens at J.C. Penney so you can fucking get some fresh badass shorts to replace the bloody ones that you're taking off.
Oh my god, I keep forgetting to do one basic thing. I apologize to anyone watching this who actually thinks that I know how to play these games.
Seven of your dwarf children that look up to you are like, but Dad, no.
My horrible abomination Pokemon children.
Why do they all have an extra tail? That's not a tail.
Well, you see, it cost extra money to use a Chauncey as a surrogate, so I had to spring for the Kangaskhan.
Yikes.
At least,
He has an alternative Magnemite. Those are magnets. Those are not magnets.
at least it's not like in the real world where where it's just like we
Your
say
Clefairy used Flash. I love it.
uh,
They just him like jumping in the air and like doing the splits and someone being like, "Oh God, I don't want to look at that."
it just spins around, lands on a chair, pulls the rope down, and splashes itself with water. What a feeling! Keep believing. But no, I was thinking that more like in the case of Pokemon birth surrogacy, it wouldn't work like that in Pokemon World. In the real world, it's just, we find someone in the Ukraine and turn her into biomass so a gay couple in the suburbs can feel like they're somehow natural.
Mm, yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's striving for too much. I don't think humans are supposed to feel natural anywhere.
No, you're not for free range organic humanity.
Ugh. That hasn't existed since we started using the word humanity.
I mean, that hasn't existed. We got kicked out of the garden.
No, getting kicked out of the garden was the ultimate free range.
Listen, it's not my fault that German beer at the Biergarten in the Renaissance Festival was so strong that I tripped and broke the guy's accordion and they kicked me out.
Yes, yes, accidentally. That's why we did it. I didn't just run up to the guy with the accordion, snatch it from his hands, and stomp into a billion pieces because of the goddamn accordion.
I mean, look. I understand the idea, but like, this is this dude has it set up perfectly to get away with it. One, his family serving the beer. Two, his family is his wife, whom is pregnant and has the firstborn baby strapped on a baby backpack on top of her humongous boobs. And she's gonna walk around serving everybody the beer while he's on the stage doing a little dance and playing his accordion, and putting on the show of trying to make ends meet. Now, I bet you all of them are actors and an actress. You get even the baby. I bet those babies like go in the back and they fucking do the Al Capone like fucking when they put on a suit and slick back their hair and they smoke a cigar and then they talk and the little baby talk at each other fucking gangster style. Looney Tunes esque.
Okay.
They know what they're doing.
Oh,
They're all
everyone knows what
actors.
they're doing. That's
At the Renaissance Festival.
everyone knows what they're doing. That's why the actual problem is spiritual and not political.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is nearly where is we
We
going back for.
we don't need to kill people with guns. We need spirit guns. We need to kill people's spirit. People are like, hey, I should stand up for myself. I should rebel against the system. We hit them with a spirit gun and they're like, I should do what I'm told.
No, no, no. See, that's the exact opposite. See, you fill people with the spirit gun and they oppose the system. It's when they've had their spirits broken
Oh,
that they obey the system. We're against the GPG. We're against the global Pokemon government. We are a human movement, all right? And maybe
it,
Pokemon if we can figure it out.
it's a manner of like how the connotation flows with how you phrase the thing. Because when you're talking about filling things up with spirit, what are you imagining? Because that's not essentially what you're trying to say you're doing. But everybody's imagination goes into you filling something up with something white. It's a spirit, I guess.
I was not aware that spirits were white. That's
Oh yeah, they always tieflings are
It's
dark.
true.
wait, so even black
Yeah,
people have white spirits?
it's
No, they're tieflings.
See, I was like, if
They
black
can
people had white
fly.
spirits, that would
in
piss them
like
They
off.
can fly. They have a
in
+2 to
theory. We're
dex.
talking we're talking purely in theory here. We don't even know if spirits are real. So
Oh, they are very real.
I mean, says people.
Well, we can also go into a debate about what is the nature of reality.
Exactly, yeah. The point in that.
I feel like there's something to be had. Oh, those custap berries. Every single time. It's like literally the custap berry is the definition of I wanted to be a challenging enemy, but I didn't want to actually win.
Right.
It's something about the game is starting to feel not like it's a phenomenally brilliantly devised game, but more like they made it so you have to go back to the Poke Center after every battle in the late game, which doesn't necessarily make a great game. At first, it felt more challenging, but it's starting to feel more annoying than challenging. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in this. I don't know though.
was it
And
challenging?
after looking at Glaceon, I'm not sure Glaceon's a piece of shit.
I mean, it's ice type. We can just assume.
Yeah, but it got the ice moves that are viable with hail.
Hmm.
Like it's got access to like that. That's one of the things. A lot of the Pokemon that have access to ice moves don't have access to all of them, so they can't fully utilize the bonus to that. Because you get ice moves do more damage in hail, don't they? I'm pretty sure they do.
No clue. I mean, I assume.
Like water moves do more damage in rain dance
Yeah.
in rain. and fire and sunny day. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% sure. Ice moves do more damage in hail. And then there is the ultimate ice move. I forget what it's called. Is it Blizzard? Blizzard and Avalanche. I forget which one is the more powerful one. Uh, let's say it's Blizzard. It's normally 70% accuracy in a snowstorm or whatever it's called. Blizzard has 100% accuracy. It's the ice version of thunder, right? And then it does more damage because it's in the ice field, the ice weather condition. And then there's another one that it's if the enemy there's one that's like if the enemy strikes first, you strike for
Hmm.
double damage. So like that one's supposed to be pretty good too. And I forget what the third one was that works really good in combination with the
Is that one
hail.
Blitzkrieg?
Hang on, hang on. I'll just open the game up and
I
let
was
you.
kidding. You don't have to actually. That was a World War II military tactic. I don't know if they would make a Pokemon Blitzkrieg move. Although maybe you never know.
I honestly would not be surprised if there was a Pokemon move Blitzkrieg. It probably I want to guess that it'd be a fire type, but the way Pokemon goes, it could be lightning, it could be fire, it could be fighting, it could be anything, anything at all.
That's true. That's why, in these times, you have to really think in doubles and be nowhere, because this is a truly, at bottom, a matter of spiritual warfare, not Pokemon warfare. The Pokemon warfare, this is just the surface level, conflict that we have had throughout all of history. And this is the sort of thing that blinds us to the real goals and the real problems. The real war isn't between Pokemon or humans or between humans and humans. It's between humans and demonic forces that have seemed to work their way into this world.
Pokemon, boom.
I would love a version of Pokemon where Professor Oak is actually Alex Jones.
I hope he gets that excited.
I'm just saying it. Make fun of me all you want on PNN or whatever, but everyone innately knows this. These people are not freaking human. The gym leader is a goddamn demon. And we all
Can't
know, it's
trust
not really,
them.
it's a
Look them
metaphor.
in the eyes. You can't trust them.
Look, it's a metaphor, okay? The gym leaders are actually just broken and despondent in this age because they're forced by the treaty that was signed at the end of the war that was started by the GPG to institute its one world government. They're required to perform their duties as gym leaders to keep the entire thing operational, so that none of the children ever realize that they are the secret, and that if the children wanted to overthrow this system, they could collectively do it at any moment. We got to distract them with public school and Pokemon battles.
Good old Pokemon battles. There's nothing quite so distracting to children.
I don't know. I feel
It's
like if
that game.
Pokemon was truly
It's
distracting to
good.
children, our numbers wouldn't be what they are.
How
I think a good Pokemon battle is like a good like cup of coffee. It's cumulative. It sticks with you. It sets the tone moving forward.
Yeah.
I, I agree, but I feel like much more menacing and maniacal about it. Like I feel like it's more like a dead crow on the sidewalk. Every little kid's gonna stop and interact with it. They're gonna cry because they're scared, or they're gonna try to pick it up and run it home to save it, or they're gonna try to step on it and like I don't know, some sick shit. Like ooh, like that they're all gonna try to interact with the dead crow. None of them are gonna like pretend it's not there. That's what Pokemon is. It's that distraction to the children. All these 10-year-olds are like, don't worry, little 10-year-olds. There's no such thing as the global poke government. There's nothing for you to be worried about. Just become best friends with your Pokemon. Look, we have these new contests. They don't even have to fight. They can sing at each other. No damage. No damage. You can be best friends forever. The Pokemon are the double agents, like the clone troopers waiting for Order 66 in the Clone Wars episode, blah, 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 of star, blah, blah, blah. And, nobody knows what's happening to them. And so now we're diving into the whole thing where it's like, which reality is real? The Poke reality or the reality that we think we're living in right now, where they're doing the exact same thing to us, but instead of us having Pokemon, we have stuff like gay marriage and uh, uh, specific races' lives mattering instead of everybody's lives mattering and stuff like that. And roar, Pokemon.
Hocus, I mean, I feel like, uh, you really are getting at the heart of the issue here, and that really is what's going on. We have stand-ins for issues because, of course, you're not going to have just some entity show up and say, "Oh, ooga booga, I'm a demon." No, these matters of decay, these matters of spiritual isolation, the reason why it's becoming so hard for so many people to deny that what's going on is spiritual in its nature. And I mean, hey, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some sort of master theologian. I went through my own insufferable Reddit atheist phase, and then that phase after high school when you go to college, and then everyone else started going through their Reddit atheist phase. But by then I was just like, oh God, you guys, okay, maybe if I was like 16, but this is embarrassing and painful. And I had sort of sat in igtheist world for a long time, mostly because igtheism pisses off the atheists and the religious. And so that made it the most fun. But now I find myself in that same position that so many others find themselves in, where they can't deny the fact that something is going on, something beyond mere politics or mere race relations or gender relations is happening. And I have some theories as to what's causing that in the Pokemon universe. Naturally,
I mean, as long as the theory involves Professor Oak being slimy, I probably believe it. There's no way Professor Oak's really a good guy. There's no way. I can't. I can't.
oh yeah,
I
I
can't.
mean, well, this is
I
the other
feel like the
thing.
master of ceremonies could probably chime in that if he looked up a picture of Professor Oak, I feel like he could chime in very strongly on whether this man is trustworthy or not.
Oh, I know what I know what Professor Oak looks like, and whether or not he is trustworthy, I think that would depend on the type of mood you catch him in.
Hmm. Okay, okay.
I mean, you have to understand. I feel like I've spoken on these issues with MC Maury McMaury before, and I think that this comes down to a difference of ideology. We don't believe in base natures. I believe in base natures. I don't think that our MC believes in base natures.
That's true. That's true. Like if I remember the cards correctly, sometimes he was an imposter with like an eye patch and all of that. So I mean, it just depends on which oak we're dealing with.
You're right. You're right. It could be Halloween. He could be wearing an eye patch. It might not even be him. It might be a cyborg from the future.
Uh huh.
I need to rethink this over. No wonder he's pushing a Pokemon agenda on everybody.
I mean, beyond Pokemon agendas or anything like that, that's the nature. Again, that's what's so difficult and why it always seems like you're going down rabbit holes of conspiracies, because when you're in this stage of societal species decay, it looks like there is some sort of great mastermind conspiracy at work. And to be fair, there is. Everything in politics has ever been has always been a conspiracy. The Constitution, the American Revolution was a conspiracy. That's not really a controversial statement to make.
Sure.
But the reason why it seems so conspiratorial is because when these spiritual crises occur, you'll see a great deal of evil in the world. That it will seem like it's all of these various systems are now moving toward a goal, and there are various, larger powers at play, all trying to use these systems and institutions for their own ends. But it's again, it's all a product of this spiritual decay, this spiritual decline. You'd be more accurate just saying that, oh, everyone's possessed by demons, and you would still be getting at something closer to the truth. I think I just went in a circle.
For a second, I thought you were saying you went in a circle in the conversation. I was like, what?
Oh, I mean, that's kind of the problem with spirituality debates, is that you'll end up going in a circle a lot. That's why it's so hard to sound sane during them, even though it's the most sane things in the world to say nowadays.
I don't know. I feel like in most situations where I butt heads with people, like trying to argue in any way, shape, or form isn't the right way to go.
Oh no, I mean, again, this is,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
that's part of.
giving them enough slack that they accidentally make a noose works a lot better.
I mean, potentially, I think that the real thing there is that, how do I put this? Are you familiar with the art of summoning demons?
A bunch of fake ones from animes, but I no, I don't
Yeah.
know the real. I've never seen somebody do it and then it
Yeah.
worked, and then I'm like, well, that's fucking the way to do it because it worked. Like,
Well, first of all, don't do it. It's a terrible idea.
that's disappointing.
But should you happen to find yourself in a situation, the rule of summoning demons is that one of the weapons that you carried with you during the ritual was always a sword. And the reason for that is because if the demon should, let's say, get a mite bit uppity, you can strike at it. But the rule is that you can only strike it once. You do it after that, the demon will become all powerful and immortal. You strike it once, you strike it the right way, and then that's that.
It has to be a kill shot.
Well, the thing is that again, it's a demon. It won't truly be dead. Maybe it will taunt you. Maybe it will continue to behave in a bad way. But you will have done the damage that will truly prevent it from doing anything. It may antagonize you to do it again, but that's just again the nature of the beast. This is why the attack
It's
against the global
it's
Pokemon government must be sharp and swift and complete.
with a flat hand, not curved, with a flat palm. You have to strike them like right on the anus, hard,
Yes,
and that's the way you strike them once. Yeah,
with an open
right
fist
on
like
the
a
anus.
lady.
Yikes.
Open palm. You gotta raise your open hand, strike up the band, make the fireflies dance, silver moon sparkling. You gotta smack it right on the anus.
So kiss me,
It sounds like the right way.
if
Where
only.
would I see
Oh, we have a
It is the
guest.
right, unless you know,
it?
unless you're just going for the ass, in which case you spank up, you involve the thigh, the upper thigh.
Just a little bit, just once. Because if you do it more than once, that testicle will come back and it will try to possess your babies.
Yep,
But isn't that what we all
yep.
hope for? For our progeny to be a clone of us so that they can live on our dream the way we intended?
Well, yeah, but I feel like being possessed by demons in that situation would really put a damper in that.
There's nothing worse than a haunted testicle. I mean, it's hard to go through your
It's
day.
hard to get a blowjob with your testicles like in the middle of
Yeah, I mean,
it.
dude, yeah, I mean, like, even just at work, people are like, "Why are your testicles making, like, scary sounds?" And it's like, look, it's embarrassing.
Look, I'm really into you, but I'm very
Personal.
uncomfortable with your testicles.
She
So
pulls your pants down and just goes, "Ah, ghost."
Oh, she pulls out her camera and calls her friends over, and she starts, like, her like, episode, like, "Did you guys hear that?" She would be like, it'd be perfect for, like, the ghost adventure woman to date, yeah. "You
Yeah,
guys hear
suddenly
that?"
it's a sleepover
Like,
night
you
with Ouija boards. And I mean,
yeah.
not to quote unquote go there this early in the evening, but if we are discussing matters of spirituality and the occult and spiritual warfare today in our current situation, it becomes really difficult to ignore the fact that there are certain demographics potentially more in line with the demonic, or at least more in tune with demonic natures and demonic forces, and that is absolutely applicable to women. Sorry, ladies.
cool. So I can have sex with demon ladies?
I mean, having sex with a lady is having sex with a demon lady, unfortunately, these days. We
It's
call it
hard to
mental illness or
decide.
borderline personality disorder, but it's demons.
How do we make wings come into play?
Wings?
Wings, yes. But
Since
what if I want to have sex like what is it, the fucking, is it the Persian eagle or some Persian falcon, something like that, where they fucking free dive downwards and they like lock claws and they fucking have sex while it's diving face first at the ground, and at the last second they let go of each other and open their wings and fucking stop themselves from crashing into the ground.
that very well could be bald eagles, honestly.
Fucking America, fuck yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we chose the eagle as our bird, because it was just truly metal. But no, the this is why. I mean, again,
Yeah.
like with you look into what was it they said at the final days, and I don't mean necessarily rapture, all that, but just at a metaphorical, metaphysical end of days. Whenever you were at that stage in a society where you go, Kali Yuga, good times, weak men, hard times, strong men, good times, etc.
Right.
So when the hard times come, when society decays, beyond not looking at the Bible as the truth, but the Bible as one of many texts that has chosen one of two sides in the eternal spiritual war that humanity is always locked in. And this, it boils down to light versus dark, order versus chaos. Very,
Up is up and down is down.
yeah, exactly. Except there are some people who believe up is up and down is down. And there are other people who believe that up is down and down is up, or down is right, or however they define it, and it doesn't matter. And that if they just redefine it however they want, it doesn't matter who they lie to, who they manipulate, or who they hurt, as long as they get people to believe that they think what it is, right?
One of my
Moral
favorite
relativism.
answers, one of my favorite answers to all of that is look at what happened to the world when America came around and was like, fuck the metric system. Now people have to look at measurements and interpret them, but the data is still the same. The length of, like, if you measure a tree in centimeters and then you measure it in inches, and then you go back to centimeters, it'll still be the same amount of centimeters. Like the tree won't change because you're using a different measuring system. But
Exactly.
now we have to involve an interpretation, a cipher. We have to involve an equation so that you can understand my measurement because you're using a different measuring system. That's the kind of shit that this like parallels to. There's no need for a different measuring system. But there's this whole argument on so many topics about whether we should use an objective guidance or a subjective guidance. Like for example, should we determine where everything is astrologically in reference to the core of the Earth and its polar like magnets or whatever, like the North Pole and the South Pole, or should we do it from the like relative to the sun, or should we do it relative to the supposed black hole in the middle of our galaxy,
Well,
or
yes,
even
yeah, Hocus, this,
like,
yeah, exactly what you're getting at. Like, we have social constructs of quote unquote measurement, but we're still using it in your situation for accurate measurement to find out what that objective data is. You're not just going to say, oh, okay, well, it's just 70 hectares or 9 long cats laid out on their bellies. You won't sit there and debate the actual. What you'll be debating about is how you should measure it or what measuring system. But then we would also be debating about the truth and veracity of it. Essentially, what you're getting at is the grounding problem or the problem of juxtaposition in physics, right?
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Oh God, where do I go? Is that, oh,
I
playing
don't know. I've
around?
been watching you for a minute. I stopped playing a little bit ago, and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck he is. Like,
No, it's fine. We're having a debate about spirituality. Fumbling around in the darkness is exactly where it should be. But no, I guess without to bring it to rein it back in, because the problem with these debates is, again, if you lose sight or you lose focus for even a second, you've got an entire army of like 100 IQ Reddit tier atheists ready to just be like, but this is a logical fallacy. Like, all the people during COVID telling me that, even though they forgot that appeals to authority is one. Well, that wasn't a mic drop I intended it to be.
I just sorry, my brain veered off to like the what were these people called? The critical racism theory people. And it's just like how many of those people that are saying like, well, if you're white, you're born racist.
Oh, but again, it's
Even
even
believe, hang
it's
on, but how many of those people do you think like say that and then turn around and go to church and they're like original sin is not a thing?
I mean, you understand that like the CRT thing kind of gets at that because um if you read, have you ever read the book White Fragility?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So in the book White Fragility, if you read the foreword, they actually begin by opening up and comparing racism to America's original sin. Like the entire thing, call it CRT, call it postmodern structural theory, call it whatever you will. It's an ideology for people who ultimately realize that playing it fast and loose with names was a way to avoid having to have any real arguments with people. um, and again, that's
That
I,
makes
huh?
that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's they don't. I wouldn't get too caught up in just that specifically. Although again, it is, hey, a really handy religion that we can look at and say, oh, well, these evil, terrible people tend to like it because it's an ideology that mostly deals with power or some kind of absolution that doesn't involve you paying a price. It involves making other people pay a price, which is, again, another aspect that gives it a certain demonic nature. It is about the perversion and twisting of things that would be good for nefarious ends. Like, for example, using the concept of original sin and then turning it around and applying it to racism, even though most of those atheists would tell you, oh, original sin is just a made up concept to subjugate you and control you. And it's like, oh, okay. So what is it when you try to use it?
How
Right.
dare you? I am a gentleman.
And and you don't even want to focus too much on just CRT and postmodern critical theory. Because again, look at what's happening right now. The ideology's lost favor, and whether you're school teachers or liberals or whomever, everyone's trying to deny the fact that they're connected to it, even though they all kind of believe it. Like, I've had multiple people on the left get into huge arguments with me, telling me that, you know, I'm a fascist, all these other terrible things, etc. But they'll always say straight up, well, I don't believe in CRT. I'm not one of those far left wokies. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we'll reach that stage in the argument where they want to try and reach a compromise of like, well, just admit this one thing. Just admit this one thing. And the one thing they want me to admit is that white privilege exists. And it's like, okay, that's that sounds exactly like the
It,
CRT
it
thing.
it's like just such perfect racism. White privilege is just perfect. It's like all those other racisms applied to all the other ethnicities or whatnot. It's just so perfect because like it, it takes 1%, because that's what we have. The rich is like 1%, right? So it
Yeah.
takes 1% of white people, and it says all white people are like that.
I mean, Hocus, how familiar are
It's
you with the
so great.
Occupy movement?
I don't remember. I don't remember at when it was starting.
I like to have sit-ins,
Huh?
but just in general, not like to achieve anything. Just kind of like sitting around places, you know.
Yeah,
Well, like,
that's
and I participated in some stuff that I thought was called anonymous, but I've also been told that it was part of the Occupy movement. But I don't really know. Like what we did was there was a Scientology building or Church of Scientology or something like that, uh, over by the in Texas, the UT campus, and they all got together and they were just like they wanted to know like what is the church about, and they were asking the church. There's a math, and they were asking them, and everybody was like hanging out and whatnot, and people wore V for Vendetta masks and whatnot. Like, well, uh, a bunch of like complicated and dramatic stuff happened where like false police reports were filed to try to get the police to get rid of everybody who was there asking Scientology what it was about. Like, what is Scientology? Like, and so, like in the end, the government got involved uh, and prosecuted that branch of the Church of Scientology for, falsely. I don't even remember what the threat they said was, that like they accused the I don't know who they thought they were accusing. One of the random thousands of kids that went to UT wearing masks, V for Vendetta masks. They were all hanging out in the fucking plaza drinking bottles of water that were being given for free. Yeah, it was one of those sober kids in masks on campus in the middle of the day. Whatever the threat was called, that the cops had to come and like start searching people's cars and bags and everything like that. And then afterwards they found that the call came from like that the supposed threat that had to make the cops come and search for everything was a falsified threat. Like they try to make it sound like it was one of the students called, and oh, it was a bomb threat. They try to make it sound like one of the students called and placed a bomb threat.
oh yeah, and let me
And
guess,
it,
it was
and
the
it was
Church of
it was the
Scientology
science.
that placed it.
Yeah, the phone call came from one of their landline phones. The voice in the phone call was one of the guys. Like like
Um,
there was no doubt
well,
about it, and so they got prosecuted. They got prosecuted, but it was just so crazy because literally, like the only thing that was handed out among it was just a bunch of students. Like the only thing that was handed out was free bottles of water. It was a fucking hot day in summer.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, like I didn't really even socialize with any of the people there. I wasn't even planning to be there, but like when I saw all the stuff happening, I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they told me, and I was like, "I do want to know what this is about." Like I do want to know what Scientology is and what it's about. At the time, I didn't know anything. It was still pretty new. It was right around the time when like it started to get like a lot of public like attention, and like Tom Cruise was like in it and everything. Like right, it was right around then when like Tom Cruise started talking about it. And yeah, so I imagine a lot of people were like that. They're like, why are so many people flocking to Scientology? What is Scientology? Like, can you guys tell us? And typical to what all the stereotypes of Scientology are, like they were like, no, like they closed the doors, they didn't talk to anybody, and then they ended up fall, calling a fake bomb threat against themselves to try to get the police to disperse us. Like,
Of course. Well, Hocus, let me ask, I guess, let me take that point and ask you another question. With Scientology, have you ever been familiar with Scientology? How familiar are you with
not,
it, with its
not
practices?
really.
Okay, so let's
Not,
say,
I don't know like what the truth about it is. I've just like pretty much heard people say that it's crazy and seen a couple of interviews here or there, but like I feel like if I could grab the book and like read it, or no, maybe not. I don't know if the book is supposed to include everything because from what I understand, they hide everything in layers or whatever. Like,
Scientology, Scientology is kind of a weird duck in this case because, like I was saying, with spiritualism and spirituality and the eternal struggle between light and dark, that really is a war between humans and various human natures, and really two competing models of how human society should be orchestrated that have been fighting with each other since time immemorial, and they will continue to fight long into our history. And the ever recurrent pattern is that every single time one of those two sides comes into power, you start having widespread chaos. People start believing in lies. They start talking about moral relativism. They start saying, doing whatever they can to get power because that is the ideology of that religion. That's essentially how that religion works. It's moral relativism. So yeah, CRT is that religion, but it's just one form of that religion. Back in pre-Hindu India, it was just known as witchcraft because that's what it
um,
is. It boils down to the idea that, objective truth isn't real. Whatever I can get everyone to believe will become the truth, and that'll be that. It was the same religion that we see in ancient Egypt. If you look at when they look at the ancient history of Egypt, they very quickly see that, oh wow, it looks like there was some kind of revolution right right at the right at the beginning point of this timeline we have in the archaeological record, and it looks like they just did everything they could to obliterate and remove any other evidence of any type of civilization in Egypt prior to the ancient Egypt that we know of today. The Book of the Dead. It's not really
I
just a
have
book
heard.
about, huh?
I have heard mention of that in arguments as to like what, but null proof isn't proof, but it's used as a null proof that aliens did start human civilization.
Okay,
People are
yeah.
like, that must be why there is nothing there because we rebelled against the aliens and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's certainly an imaginative possibility. And I use the word possibility because statistically, I think it could have happened. I'm pretty sure there's a statistical chance that that could have happened in the realms of possibility, sure. But that's not evidence in any way, shape, or form that that did happen. Like that,
Exactly, yeah. But again, those same people talking about the aliens will turn around and tell you that you're an idiot for going to church and believing that, when it's pretty obvious that that's just a religion for people who don't want to have religion. You know what I mean?
You
Like
know,
that's overwhelmingly obvious to me. Like the and I had people tell me that when I was younger and I didn't really see it because my brain was going from the perspective of, okay, no, it's just the possibility of other life out there. I don't really believe. I just, am not so convinced that we're the only thing out there. And that was a difference. But now I'm starting to realize that most people in Alien World did not, especially liberal, crystal clutchy hippie world. Like they love the aliens. But the thing is that again, if you look at the alien conspiracies, you look at UFOs, we very quickly have to deal with the fact that it's not even UFOs anymore. They're not unidentified flying objects. They're now called UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena.
oh, kill me.
Well, it's because there's not necessarily a physical object. Now they're talking more about it being, energy or
like
they're
an experience,
exactly. No, they do make it like an experience, and they talk about cases like Skinwalker Ranch where you've got multiple people who all experienced an encounter with something, but it's like Gozer the Gozerian in Ghostbusters. Everyone saw a different thing in this experience that they had. Everyone had a different experience, essentially, even though they all experienced the same
right?
thing. And that's when you start getting into issues like subjectivity and quantum physics and all of that stuff, which is possible. But then we also have to deal with the fact that, like, if these aliens are real, if these entities that are connected to us through psychic energy or whatever are real, and again, I'm not saying this, I'm just saying if I'm playing the everything is true game and judging the lore by its own self, we have to grapple with the fact that um, many religions call the entities that we call aliens demons, and that those entities really do parallel with the behavior and beliefs and agendas of those things that the religions call demons.
I Yeah.
Yeah, it's and
But
again,
I
it's
mean, I'd like to parallel that to. I was talking to someone earlier today, and they were talking about how they would act if a ghost was in the room, and I was like, no, I was like, that's completely inappropriate. That's like you can't like scientists, psychologists, they've like looked at the idea of like, what if we encounter aliens? Something we don't know, we're not familiar with. It's foreign. We don't know anything about it. How should we interact? What choices are best choices to like make for different scenarios? And essentially, like how do we limit the amount of negative consequences that can come out of action? Like what you want to learn as much about the thing you're trying to interact with as quickly as possible so you can interact with it in a more positive manner for yourself.
yeah, but
I'm not trying to say anything about morality. I'm not trying to say like whatever. Be it that the best thing for you is to stab it in the stomach and fucking take its wallet and run away. Like, okay, sure, whatever. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like how do you reach that conclusion? What should you do? It's kind of like using like a scientific process to do it. They've come up with ways to address that. And because we've thought and assumed things about ghosts doesn't mean that those rules apply. Just because you saw Twilight and you saw some vampires follow some rules in Twilight and their skin glistens in the light doesn't mean that if vampires were real, any of those rules apply to them.
oh, yeah, absolutely. But the thing
So
is, again, even to begin the analysis that you're talking about right now, Hocus, you have to assume that there is an objective reality, even if you don't know what it is. You're accepting the fact that your knowledge could be flawed and you might not know the answer, but you're not negating the idea that the answer is out there and that it's impossible to find. And so we're just going to make up whatever we want to make up, and that's that. Right?
yeah, yeah. But that seems to be the way that the human brain works. That's something that's like very common. It's just like you may see something in like incredible resolution, but if the only thing you have to draw it with are crayons, that's the kind of art resolution we're gonna have coming out of people's hands. They're not gonna be able to do better than that if that's the best they have.
This is true, yeah. And this is why you would have things like, proper education, but at the same time, we're dealing with something that's deeply instinctual, like you said. Even the people who claim that everything is relative and nothing is really objectively true, they'll turn around and try to make the argument to you that something is objectively true. And you'll have theorists and thinkers like James Lindsay who talk about how it's just a rhetorical strategy. And yeah, it is, because again, a lot of them just aren't bad. So a lot of them really are just bad people. A lot of them truly do just have flawed souls, and they only care about power. And this, mainly the corporate, people we consider at the political level, corporate Democrats and rhinos, those are probably the most evil people that have ever existed in this country. And again, they're evil in a classical, archetypical sense. Look at take your typical MAGA conservative, for example, and you got people who actually believe in their values, people who really do stand by it. And then you look at the corporate Dems and the rhinos, the people we know who were Republicans during, say, the Iraq War, and now they're all hardcore CRT wokies, and it's the same people both times. And it's like, oh, you don't really have a religion, you don't really have values, you just want power, and you're going to say and do whatever you have to say. It's the difference between the person who truly does believe and the person who cynically just uses religion in order to look like a good person, to gain some sort of social power. It's essentially the same
Oh,
thing.
yep, yep.
Like, they didn't really have a god, they just have power. And that's the dark side argument. We have the same thing in philosophy, where those who want to honestly pursue the truth and figure out what the truth is, and those who are like, well, no, it doesn't really matter, nothing means anything. And those people always look like good guys at first, but they also will eventually. I'm sorry, how is CRT a religion? Read Carl Schmitt and look at political theology. It's not necessarily about the religious practice. It's not about necessarily just going to church. It's also about the space that the ideas occupy in your mind and the way that you give it certain authority. It's unquestioned, the same way that people would, oh no. It's unquestioned, the same way that if I use strength against a ghost, I'm an idiot who hit the wrong button. Uh, the It's about being a stand-in for morality. A really easy way to see what I'm getting at with how it's a religion would be to read, White Fragility. That would be probably the easy way to do it. It's also a really good example of how most of them lie, because they will sit there and tell you, oh, I don't believe in her, she's just one crazy woman. And it's like, okay, yeah, you don't believe in her, but she's just the corporate spokesperson for the entire movement, and she's written the book that the entire ideology of your approach to how you deal with white people. And again, all of the racism is just a distraction. It's just a tool to get them what they want. If the tables were flipped, they would be going against anyone else they would. They would pick any subgroup they would, because the goal is just conflict. But if you look at the foreword to White Fragility, they talk very explicitly about original sin and how original sin is slavery, original sin is racism. And you can see how they are using the same exact tactics that we would say against, you know, horrible, evil conservatives. But again, it's about the way that it works. And again, I am not. If I was actually smart enough to truly convey this in the way it should be, I wouldn't be doing this and ranting. I would be, doing what James Lindsay does or something. But he is the one who knows what he's doing, and I am uh, not sure what move I'm going to use here. Flamethrower, yes. The but yeah, that's essentially it's about. You have to think about religion less in terms of Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, and more about the way that it. Oh yeah, absolutely. But the problem is that not only is it a red herring, we're really going to have to deal with all the people who want to just use that as a toss off. And so, oh, okay, yeah, right now we're all saying, oh, we don't like it. But for the past 10, 20 years, it's been the reigning ideology. And we know that with the people we're dealing with, not the people who are your typical liberal voter who, I'll make jokes or whatever. But again, I'm talking about the people with the actual power in this system on that side. They'll just come back and try it again later after everyone's forgotten. It's kind of why they're pushing so hard to push it on kids now. Because if they don't turn the classroom into a pulpit, if they don't turn the classroom into their sermons where they're constantly indoctrinating them, then it's going to fall apart because anyone with half a brain just looks at that and goes, no, thank you. Some would say that that's reason. Some would say that that is natural intuition, like the Christians would say. Um, Trying to get at the question of whether it's something that's inborn instinctual or something that's a connection to a spiritual level is another part of the confusion, the place that we're in as people, not really being able to fully know the truth with the limitations of our senses and knowledge.
Whenever we do figure it out, it'll definitely be one of those things where it's like, well, it would have been awesome if we knew it 200 years ago. Like, whenever we figure it out, it'll all definitely be one of those things. It's like, it would have been nice to know earlier.
I
But
mean, the
oh
thing.
well, here we are.
No, again, we've known the whole time. It's like when I remember back in the early 2000s to 2010 and so on, when I had gotten out of school and people were talking about how, oh, everyone's just so weak and useless and they don't have any skills and college is, a waste of time apparently. And I would just sit there and think, well, yeah, because you guys actively went out and found the dumbest people with the most made up bullshit soft degrees. Like I'm sitting here doing an undergraduate thesis that's a 50-page research paper culminating across hundreds of years of political debates with various thinkers. And then the guy I know doing like critical theory type social sciences stuff is doing his thesis on, and I'm not even shitting you, oral histories because it's racist to require written histories because writing is a white people thing. And so we have to
Uh,
open ourselves to indigenous forms of knowledge like oral testimonies. So he literally just interviewed his grandmother for his thesis. But again, no
That isn't
one.
true though. Like writing is a human thing.
Yes, exactly. It's but they take something that would seem like truth and immediately try to hammer this lie through because that's the way that they try to manipulate you. They know what they're doing is a lie. He knew he was a fraud. He knew he was just some dumb little twink getting fucked every day and trying to like find a sugar daddy who had a real job who supported him. He didn't care. Like, why would he? If someone's going to give him a PhD or like hire him, even though he's wildly unqualified, why would he care? If he actually cared about earning anything or wanted to prove anything that's actually true, he wouldn't have even bothered with CRT in the first place. It's kind of like the toys with the Buddha. Whenever they had to select a new Buddha, they would always lay out these toys. And I think they did the same thing in Avatar: The Last Airbender, with whenever they would try to figure out the Avatar if he was born into the Airbender nation again, they would have all these toys out, and if the kids selected through intuition, no guidance, the same three toys that the Buddha had selected before as an infant, they knew it was the Buddha reincarnated. It was the same person again, because that, or at least that was their test for finding it. In the same regard, whether or not you're looking for a reincarnated person in a new body, you can definitely tell a lot about the inner workings of a person and their, let's say, caliber, value, by the ideologies they choose and the things that they believe in. And again, have you ever found a single social justice person who isn't a gigantic hypocritical piece of shit who's only using it for power? No, you don't. Interesting, right?
I've never really gone looking for social justice people, but
Like anyone who actually cared about
Yeah,
issues of social
I've never been
justice.
into.
I definitely feel comfortable taking your word for it.
Oh my God, we all know social justice people. If you want to do anything in the art scene, again, and that's the thing is that
Okay,
we're
okay, but hang
saying we
on.
don't know
Like
social
every
justice people, but
no,
we
no, no.
absolutely do. They would just say they aren't whenever it served
Are they
them.
all really as crazy as the few of them that I knew? Are they
Yes,
all really? Oh, that
yes.
sucks. There is no hope for them then.
I mean, I
Okay.
don't think they're all crazy. I think a lot of them have, again, just been manipulated. But there's a difference between the people who are going along with it and just feel like, okay, well, I generally want to be kind. I want to be more open minded. I want to be more open in general. And these are all good things to be. These are not bad things. And this is, if I truly thought it were hopeless, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be sitting there while the entire planet was laughing at me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be doing this.
Hmm.
But no,
I,
huh?
I mean, I feel like, there's still a decent chance that like the end of the world won't happen for the next like 30, 35 years. We could all be out. We could have all finished our race by then.
Well, it's
The,
like,
the next generation, our kids will be fucking getting out of fucking high school, and then that's when the fucking moms explode. Kim Jong Un will finally take a dump, and the end of the world will happen.
oh man, when his sister takes power, we all need to really be prepared for something because she's got nothing but chopped off fingers in that briefcase of hers.
I mean, by prepared, do you mean like self-determined? Because I'm not sure what you can really do to get ready for someone that crazy.
I'm gonna just leave it. I'm just gonna leave it at that for now, and let someone else deal with the
Just have to.
geopolitics of Korea.
You just have to listen to Eye of the Tiger on repeat over and over,
You know what?
over and over.
I need to watch the interview again just to really get a good feel for what's going on in Korea.
I mean,
It-
well, I mean, beyond Korea is sort of a black box, closed society, and all that.
oh yeah, dude, but the stuff that comes out of there, like when we find out some of the stuff that Kim has like decreed and declared onto the world, like some of the shit he claims he's invented and stuff like that, it's just fucking amazing. It's crazy some of the shit he said.
But here's the thing, and getting to the greater spiritual war that we're at, and how we've lost sight of what's really important. And it's one of the things that, again, not to be one of those guys who's like, the Bible says, but the Bible says that when the time comes, and not the actual end of days, but the cycle, the eternal cycle of collapse and regrowth, when that happens, uh, you will find people just saying utter nonsense. You'll find people who seem to have completely lost their capacity for reason of any sort. And one of those is definitely the fact that we can't tell the difference anymore. Like, really, if Would it really matter if this guy was spouting off a bunch of crazy nonsense if he were a good leader looking out for his people and bringing, prosperity and good times and flourishing to the North Korean people? We wouldn't really, he could be sitting in a kiddie pool full of his own feces and we wouldn't care if everything was good and there were good times. But you're just probably not going to get good times when the leader guy is babbling and rolling around in his own feces. Because the only time that the larger bureaucratic systems that run any country would ever want a leader guy like that is when they wanted to do something evil that the people didn't want. Oh well, yeah, there's
Hasn't
always been
there?
people spouting nonsense. What do you think I'm doing right now? Waka waka.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Oh god, what is
Let's
this?
see. Oh wait, are you about to finish? Is that the last one
Oh no,
before the
no, this is
champion?
just I'm doing that thing where I just throw myself at the Elite Four, constantly shouting "Allahu Allah Akbar" until eventually I finally get through.
Have you ever tried the just walk in with six exploding attack based Pokemon?
I don't think that would work with the ghosts, but I do see your point though with them healing
No,
every
you're
time.
right. You would have to survive 2 hits to do it, and you would have to use like I forget what it's called. Old Odor Sleuth. There's two different moves. There's Odor Sleuth and what's the one who learns Foresight. I
I
think it's called
mean,
Foresight.
as
Both of
far
those
as
moves make it so you can hit ghosts with normal type moves.
yeah, if it gets too bad, I'll just get my higher level Pokemon out of the box and throw them at her. But
Right,
you
right.
know,
Because you beat two Elite Fours already.
yeah, we can. Well, the goal is just to get through Hoenn because it's been such a massive disappointment. But I guess it's like the reason why it
There's the
seems so.
hoe in charge of hoeing, and we're all going to pay.
So
Use a
annoying.
Hoenn.
Every
I'm sorry. What was that, MC? Mori Mori?
no, no, it's every time that Jasper goes hoeing, it's a fucking disaster.
That's
Every
true.
time.
Hoenn does
Jasper
not
does
work for
hoeing.
me.
Jasper does hoeing 3. I don't even know what the subtitle there should be. Jasper does hoeing 3. Oh, vengeance?
I would be
No.
the worst hoe in the world. Like I would. What was that thing from 30
Oh
Rock?
shit! Jasper does Hoenn 3. Death to the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, they're
People who
fine.
witness you in. No, it's Jasper Hoenn. Yeah, okay.
No, I know the Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah,
Yeah.
nah, they're fine. I'm pretty sure they're on the light side of the dark side light side debate.
Oh, all right.
Although
So
that's
they won't be killed by Dialga? Is Dialga the one? Arceus. Arceus. No. I don't remember the ones in Hoenn.
no. I
I don't
mean,
think I know the ones in Hoenn, actually. Is that where Rayquaza's from?
yeah, yeah. He's the big green flying dragon, right?
This, yeah, yeah, the like snake looking one.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
The only thing I know that that one does is I remember I saw a clip where he goes into outer space and he fights another one in a movie that I don't know the other one. Its name is Deoxys, but I don't really know anything about it. I don't know its typing. I don't know. I know it can like change forms, but I don't know what that means.
Hmm. That sounds like dark side.
This guy's trying to take me out. I'm gonna hit him with Spore and just let him die.
But yeah, the this is I don't know. So many people keep talking about how it's a spiritual problem, and I keep just keeping my mouth shut because everyone's finding it from the various books that they have found. Whatever religion responds to them as their path to the light. out of all of this. But having taken my own quest through the texts of ceremonial magic, chaos magic, um, not really John Dee so much because I took one look at that and was like, oh no. And actually, John Dee and the Enochians are a really good example of the demons because that's probably the one religion that is kind of tied to everything, and most people who are into witchcraft are into that. And it's basically just Nietzsche for people who want to have a bunch of candles and dress up. It's all just essentially the will to power.
We're all the Linda Belchers.
Oh God, I could imagine if Linda Belcher got into occultism. Though I think she would just be one of those TikTok girls who would be like, "Okay, Bobby, I've got all the moon water in the jars. Where's your amethyst, Bobby?"
She'd be into it until she realized it was real.
Bobby, did you mess up the salt circle again? Linda, why are the pans flying around the house? Oh, I just found the 5 books of John Dee's mysteries, and I'm gonna figure out them. Bobby, I love mystery novels.
Sean Deed's mystery. That's a good one. Did you had you been saving that one for a while, or was that just off the cuff?
That is a good one.
No, John Dee's 5 books of mystery are the texts of Enochian magic.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I own
You
the
should
book,
put
but I've
that
never done
in your
anything
Bob
with it.
Burger sex group.
Curse you, Angel Enoch, with your credit.
No, hey, if you're really that worried about Enochian angels and Enochian magic, pay more attention to all those Africans coming over here because in Africa they include the Book of Enoch uh, in their Bible. I believe I've mentioned that before. It does make things make more sense, but it's also kind of like, who. The
Uh,
more you dive into that, the more you start thinking about, oh, okay, so you mean the You mean the you mean to tell me that the most
Big Daddy
ridiculous
in the
theory.
sky.
What?
Oh, that the Big Daddy in the sky is a mean guy.
No, well, that is occultism. That's the funny thing that I've always found in my own personal journeys with it was that if you're looking at Aleister Crowley and his writings on the Black Lodge and Aleister Crowley's works on religion, and yeah, he was actually going from John Dee, the court mage of Elizabeth I. And it's funny because John Dee also is the guy who wrote the treatise that basically told her, hey, if you just do X, Y, and Z, you could take over the planet. You know that, right? And of course, Queen Elizabeth was like, ooh, interesting. Yes. Chop down all the trees and turn our trees into boats, and then we'll go somewhere else where they still have trees. Phenomenal. Um, but again, this is why it's so funny with the whole CRT thing, because if my theory is true about a universal light and dark, and that all the ideologies fall into one or the other, what we would call postmodern critical theory, CRT, whatever, it's the same thing that gave us colonialism. And they just don't realize it because they don't really. Again, yeah, it's the it again when I say that it's for the rejects of academia, I'm not just being a dick. I mean, it's literally the people who, that guy I told you about, was studying some stuff at at another school for a master's degree, and then wanted to apply to various PhD programs. And I kept telling him, what you're doing isn't real academia. Like when you have a woman sit down and talk about how she went to the dentist and the dentist kept telling her that her tongue moved around too much. And so the dentist had to take a device and clamp her tongue down, and how that was exactly like when she was a little girl and teachers wouldn't let her speak in Spanish. They were just trying to tame her wild tongue. And no matter where she goes or what she does, they just want to tame her wild tongue. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that sounds like someone who's incredibly psychotic and interprets everything through a narrative of personal trauma. Second of all, that's not real academic scholarship. You're not making a real argument. You're not really saying anything. Now, we could look into, say, policies of discrimination. We could look into policies of linguistics. We could look into ways that we could better assimilate people or try to surpass language barriers. But again, that's not really their goal. They don't ask those questions. They want to look at, how do I get power? And that is why they justify the quotas, so that they can just take over institutions and that they can do whatever power they want and use power however they see fit, because that's really all that they think that there is. They don't see anything else because they don't know anything else. They can't conceive of it. They can't cognize it. It's not one of their forms of knowledge.
But hot damn, I feel like you boxed them in.
They box themselves in.
Okay, well, yeah, but nobody could see the walls until you were like, "These are them," and then now everybody's like, "Oh shit."
No, again, they saw it when I was in high school debate. I remember having a case about rape because UN peacekeepers, oh man, do they love to rape men, women, children? They don't care, and because of the way the institution is organized and structured, no one ever punishes them. In fact, they get a lot of people to join the UN specifically out of the promise that they're not going to be punished for any bad behavior that they perform. They, let's see. All right, we're going to replace you with you. We're going to replace you with you. Yeah, he was a court mage. John Dee was the court mage of Queen Elizabeth.
Wow. I a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's kind of funny. I saw a clip recently where Shaquille O'Neal is on a late night show somewhere. I can't remember which one. I think it's a British one. And he's talking about how he'd love to marry the Queen. And they're like, "Would you?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that would be a dream come true if I could marry Queen Victoria." And they're like, it's Queen Elizabeth. Like, you want me? Like, there's two big problems. Like, one, you're not British. Two, that lady's been dead for hundreds of years.
Yeah, but she was she's pretty attractive. There's something.
I'd never seen Shaquille O'Neal look embarrassed. That time, like, it looked super genuine. He looked very embarrassed.
He doesn't have anything to be embarrassed about. He snapped his fingers and a music part. There's nothing to be embarrassed about that.
Well, I mean,
And somebody's like, if somebody's like, hey, remember that time you fucked up? He's like, yeah, haha, I'm gonna pay someone $1 million and you're dead forever. What's the matter? You know what I mean? Like,
he called the queen by the wrong name, so he had her executed in her
yeah,
own country.
yeah.
In her own country.
He only got charged he only got charged $1 million. Like, fine, I guess I'll just understand. Oh, it is the queen. He like exerts all of his power and influence to like find a Queen Victoria to take over.
To make her apologize.
Yeah.
But no, it's God, how can I it's so difficult to even begin talking about this, realizing that I sound like a crazy person just sitting on the side of the road talking about the entities. But one really interesting thing about Thelema, Crowley, all of that, is that, and I can go into my own personal theory about it that might be blending a bit of the metaphysical and the psychological of what's at play in that. But one thing that was really interesting to me was, um, and it kind of talks about what we're dealing with today with a lot of people on the left side of the culture war. When doesn't it sometimes feel like a lot of the people who have, because I didn't really have very religious conservative parents. I grew up in very much a liberal household where you could read whatever you wanted to read, consume whatever media you wanted to consume, so long as you don't be a bad person. Um, because the whole point was to create an open-minded individual who could look at various different types of data. Uh, so I just don't. I guess I don't have the baggage that a lot of people have with it. Um, but a lot of this is driven purely by baggage from religious conservative parents. And if you look at the life of Aleister Crowley, you're seeing essentially the same thing. You've got a guy. How familiar are you with the life of Aleister Crowley?
I don't think I am familiar with his life.
Okay, so basically, he was a really wealthy trust fund dude because his dad invented the British equivalent of an Applebee's, one of those, sit
Okay,
down
yeah, I don't
pub
know anything about
restaurants.
this guy. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about this guy then. Okay.
he uh he was definitely someone who grew up in one of those very, conservative backgrounds where he viewed a lot of religion as a burden or something that was shameful. He was also trying to grapple with his own sexuality in certain ways. Um, and then when his father died, it was just him and his mother. And yeah, let's not let's not discount the possibility of MI6 there. I would not be surprised at all. The but the After his father died, he began going through a very strange psychological and spiritual spiral where he found himself doubting the nature of what is God. And it resonated with me at first when I first found out about him because it probably got at what the one question I had as a young kid that had me go through my atheism period when I did. Um, and I had never heard anyone ever say this or ask this question before. And I never understood why, when I asked this question to religious people on a few occasions, they would just give me a look of pure horror. And I did not understand why. And it's not just Christians. I have a Hindu neighbor that I asked the same question to the other day, and it stopped him dead in his fucking tracks, which was kind of satisfying to me because I love it when people who think that they're going to play the whole, oh, you Westerner, you American, you are
Let
so
me show
unspiritual
you
in
my
these matters. What?
when they're like, "Let me show you my wisdom."
Yeah, yeah. Like they complain about the whole idea of the noble savage giving us wisdom and how parasitic it is for us to sort of feed off of the culture of other countries. And then they also turn around and they want you to treat them like they're fucking magic too. Like it's it's adorable. I love it. Again, either they know exactly what they're doing and they're evil, or they're just misguided and they're under the influence of demons. The In either case, it's best to just speak directly to the demon that's piloting them. The But where what was I? Oh, right. The big question of Crowley. He talks about how he found himself in a deep psychological and spiritual fight, tussling between two opposing voices that maybe were speaking to him, maybe were just coming from him. And he said that the big problem for him, what ended the whole thing for him, was when he came to the question of, okay, which one of these is the devil and which one is God?
Hmm.
That was his big question. Um, and you can see how it gets at critical theory and critical consciousness when we start analyzing power structures, the desire to say, like, oh, that guy with the squeaky clean image, the paladin is actually a rapist, the king is actually a lech, the priest is actually a pedophile, and so on and so forth. Even though usually it's the people pushing that who just want to hide what they are.
This sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons session.
Everything sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons session. That's the power of Dungeons and Dragons, really. I really wish there hadn't been a satanic panic and the Christian population hadn't been completely turned away from it, because I think we'd find a lot more people willing to play clerics.
Did I ever tell you that I worked with a lady who, like, she literally said Dungeons and Dragons is the devil? She was like, she literally was like, no, you can't play that. Like, anything where you're invoking Satan, even as a joke, means you're really invoking Satan. And Dungeons and Dragons, you're playing. Did you know Satan was a dragon? I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
Like,
there's
not like blown away at what she was saying, but blown away that she was saying it. Like like, "Lady, you're 63 years old, like, I'm pretty sure if Dungeons& and Dragons was the devil, Wizards of Coast would have demons flying out of it." Like,
I mean, have you taken a look at them lately?
just a building, dude, there's no demons coming out of it.
Take a look at their staff.
They're ambiguous and amorphous?
No, it's just D&D has gotten very woke.
I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, well, congratulations, D&D. I guess I'm proud of you or something?
Don't be. It's gonna be the death
Don't.
of it. This but yeah, no, I'm sorry, Hocus, you were getting at something that was just so spot on, and I completely lost what I was gonna say with it. Oh man, I
Right.
wish if I remembered, I would happily tell you. Uh, oh man, I guess the big thing with the spirituality. Oh, Crowley, the which one is God and which one is the devil? That was the big thing that he was sort of, I guess, famous for. The idea of Thelema, that question about his own religion. But the problem is that he became very embedded in the idea that people today have, where, like, oh, Jordan Peterson is a Nazi because he tells you to clean your room and tell the truth. He sounds just like my dad. I don't want to have anyone tell me something that sounds like my dad. Which gets kind of at the youthful rebellion behind it. Um, but, you know, at the same time as that he said that, he also ended his life near the end. He didn't kill himself, but the end part of his life does involve living in a hut in the middle of Eastern Europe, ostensibly eating his own feces.
I guess that's one way to live. I don't know.
That's not where the games end up, honestly. No, I nothing. I really don't know much, and but that's a decent place to end up, I'd say, like historically speaking.
I'm
Like
sorry, MC. The first part
you
of what you
got to
said
end up
broke up, and
somewhere.
I just thought you were saying it was good with hummus spread on it.
That sounds horrible. No,
Oh God,
I
yeah,
take
shit
back
and
everything
hummus.
I've ever said. Just so,
Nah, man.
um,
Oh my god.
yeah, it's horrible. Well, speaking of shit, hummus, I think it's about time for this master ceremony to mosey on to sleep.
Oh
Very
no.
well.
Well,
And
I
so,
hope I hope you have
I wish.
wonderful succubus visitors that make your every dream urge come true.
I hope not. That sounds quite horrific, but I appreciate the challenge. Focus. Um, thank you. I I did everyone in the worm cave but you. Jasper, Hocus, take care of each other, and I will see you soon.
Peace.
Godspeed.
Godspeed. Good night. Worm. Yeah.
I like that he stayed in tune with even with the exit noise. The boom was totally in tune with the auto tune vocals,
That's the power of synchronicity.
right? You gotta admire a man that can do stuff like that. Why? Because you have to. I just said it. Oh.
Uh-oh, a dragon trainer, a shirtless daddy dragon trainer. It's a shame that we've lost our master of ceremonies because that would be the perfect costume for where we're taking this. This is when can dragons summon meteors?
I want to guess Generation 5, but I really don't know. I don't have a clue.
Interesting. But no, the back to Crowley, and I remember that one time I was speaking to my Indian neighbor, and he was just walking past the porch while I was out there smoking a cigarette, and he started talking about the Kali Yuga and how he had just spoken to one of his relatives who's still living in India, and how I believe it was his aunt or his grandmother was meditating and praying, and how she received a vision from an entity. And my immediate thought is like, oh, okay, that's where again we're doing what Crowley's talking about, where we're really dancing in that fine line between talking to one thing or another, or even just the idea of interpreting synchronicity in the world, with Dog the Bounty Hunter when he talks about his own coming to spirituality when he was in um, prison, and he was in the prison yard or something to that effect, and he was looking up and the clouds parted and a beam of light shot through the clouds, and he interpreted that as the universe, God, whomever, sending him a message that this is what he should do. And because he was thinking about certain things when it happened, he was like, oh, this is the sign, essentially. Um and he it's sort of that when you're playing that kind of game, and it's what Crowley was getting at. How do you know which one is God? How do you know that? How do you know whether what you're hearing, what you're being told, the sensations or intuitive thoughts that you're gaining, how do you know that's actually real? How do you know that's God? How do you know that's true, etc.? You can frame it however you want. But he mentioned that with his relative receiving this vision, and I just kind of said, "Well, yeah, but like, how do you know, which one is, whether it's God or devil? How do you know what you're actually talking to?" And he just stood there and like looked at me for a second, like he had never questioned where the voices were coming from. And I remember distinctly when I was having my own experiences with the occult, and we won't have to worry about that for tonight. That probably seems like its own type of special. One thing I distinctly remember was I was walking into a grocery store and I saw a homeless guy sitting out there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get $5 from the ATM, to give to him, because I just felt this strange urge almost out of nowhere that was telling me to do this. I was going to follow this urge. So I went, I got my groceries, I used my card to get another $5 out as cash back. And when I went to give it to him, the homeless man was gone, completely gone. Couldn't find him. And again, a voice as if out of nowhere. Not really a voice, not actually hearing a hallucination, just something on the level of an intrusive thought came in. And I had a vision, not a vision or a voice, but just some kind of sense that, like, oh no, the lesson was you can't help everyone. But then I would tell this to other people who were into thelema and the occult, and they would say things like, oh, well, no, the lesson you were supposed to learn was that you do it just for its own sake, and goodness for goodness sake is good, and that's that. And
Well,
I
I'm
was,
glad that that person was there to learn that lesson you didn't learn for you and then relay it to you with condescending tone.
well, that's just the nature of occultism. But no, the when you play, let me just say this: when you go into, oh yeah, the Christian devil, let's put a pin in that, because I don't necessarily view the devil. I think the devil's working for God. I think he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do and fulfilling his role, and that us leaving the garden was part of the test. We
Well,
weren't
if this
supposed to
were
live in
all
paradise
actually
forever. We were supposed to struggle. We were supposed to go out there, because if we weren't rejected from paradise, there would be no push to become Christ-like figures. And that doesn't just necessarily mean being a pushover who just walks around and says, "Oh yes, yea, my children. This world is but a vapor, an illusion." No, no, no. It's much deeper and bigger than that. To become Christ-like is more right-hand path magic-y.
I guess. I don't know. I might have to watch The Passion again.
I mean, do it. Mel Gibson is a consummate artist. I find that funny
Eh,
with Mel Gibson. Like, we'll sit here and look at all of these various celebrities who are left leaning, and we'll just excuse any kind of crazy behavior they do, any insane, ridiculous thing that they say is considered like, oh, okay, well, they're just eccentric and it's worth it. This is the cost of their talent. And it's like, okay, so then what about Mel Gibson?
I mean, we just look the other way,
Yeah,
right?
suddenly we don't extend that same grace.
I mean, no. I don't know what I'm supposed to tell you. Like the data says no.
And that's the problem I find with myself too, is that I don't know, dude. Again, it's in many ways we are trapped, fumbling in the dark, and the question is whether you take that as an invitation to seek the truth, or if you take that as an invitation to throw your hands up and just stay in the cave forever. And saying that there is no truth, there is no good or evil, there is no objectively verifiable anything, is staying in the cave forever. Throwing your hands up and saying it's too much, I can't figure it out. Everyone just believes what they believe, and that's that.
Well,
I am going to
I,
seed every one of these Pokemon, and I don't care how untoward it seems.
what is this? I think the Christian devil is a trickster god.
In many ways, I mean, this
Uh,
is.
I think that if the Christian God were any kind of good author, then what Jasper suggested earlier about Satan actually being on God's side, I feel like that falls in line with if God was a good author. I feel like Satan will try to pull God's sneaky move, but if God's a really good author, he'll fail. And then he'll get angry and wrathful and he'll reset the universe and whenever we come to a point where we can observe and use our consciousness, we'll look back on it and we'll be like, there was a big bang. We all came from the big bang. What happened before the big bang? We don't know.
I mean, that's true. It's kind of like the question about what happens, after you die. Well, what happened before you were born?
Everything that everybody else tells you happened. I don't know.
I mean, essentially, this is in a weird way. That's kind of why, again, the whole groomers thing, even if they aren't trying to, do anything untoward to the children, their goal at the end of the day is still to quote unquote groom them, to shape their minds, to take advantage of the fact that the children don't know that they are young, that they weren't around when these historical events happened, and therefore they can just, tell them whatever they want to tell them happened.
Yeah, get those children before they're like 35, 40 years old and they understand what investments and time and profit and interest and rates, how to use rates. Get those children before they go to college. What are you, 4 years old? Whew, you've lived like 80% of your life. You don't know how to do percentages or fractions? Just trust me, kid. You've lived the majority of your life. You should take this life insurance policy out. You never know what's going to happen in this last year.
Yeah, hey, 18-year-old with no sense of finances or planning, take out $100,000 in debt because we want to help you.
That's our fucking representatives representing our best interests.
Well, it's funny. How familiar are y'all with the history of ancient India
Oh,
prior to Hinduism, like
our
pre-Hindu India?
it's just me because our RMC left.
Well, I know, but I
He left.
believe we have, I believe we have a follower in the chat who's participating. I'd like to
Oh,
include them.
Jeff, Senor Naughty. That's
That's right,
correct.
Hocus. We have to have the showmanship. We have to include the people. That's what the power of Twitch is. I believe I've defeated the Liberace champion of this region.
Good,
Ah,
good. They were on my
finally.
nerves.
Finally, I'm so sick of Owen. God, just the like lowest effort region, and you'd think it would have been great with the themes. We got weather machines, we've got eco terrorists, we've got, if you want to know how many people on Twitter during COVID who were activists, who had like protect sharks, protect the ocean, protect nature, and every single one of them was parroting word for word mirror image, go get your shot, go get your shot right now. And I was like, kind of feel like somebody's paying all of you guys to say something.
'Cause they were.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
just in case people didn't understand, that there were context clues.
COVID is actually a really good example of the perversion of what's happening, because they talked a lot about the noble lie. And the noble lie that Socrates talked about was that, as good as you want to be, sometimes you're going to have to get your hands dirty. And you want people to be good. And you want people to not be bad. So, but if you teach most people Machiavelli, power structures, ways to manipulate or engage, wait, did my father finally come back because I'm Pokemon champion? Ha! Typical.
Sorry, buddy.
I now get to go on the SSN? Interesting.
We thought your dad loved you, but now we know
I,
he's just a poke slut.
I mean, considering what my mother just said, it kind of seems like she's a little, what? What? What is this? But it didn't say what color it was. Did it? Did I miss that? I was always terrible at these games because my brain is always like Looney Tunes Carnival.
Sorry, I'm struggling with my own glitch nonsense. Okay, here we go. Okay, the game was glitching. I tried to dig out of a cave and like it didn't work, and then I got stuck in a wall, and then the dig still didn't work. That's really weird. Really weird. Let's see, where do I need to go? I know I came up through here. All right. No.
It's funny. I think I'm going through the post game stuff where now they update national mode and now you can go to different regions and have Pokemon outside of Hoenn. And it's just so hysterical within the context of this MMO that just has everything run as a ROM. But no, the before we break for the evening, I do want to talk about very quickly pre-Hindu India. Because something I never knew about either. And oh, the amulet coin. Interesting. It was something that I had never thought about or really had connected the dots on before. But it really is just another example of what we're getting at with the whole Kali Yuga, and why the Kali Yuga comes from India, and why you comes from India, and why you have so many disparate influences from both Western and Eastern sources. Is because we're dealing with a global phenomena, and that's why you have so many people looking at Atlantis or Hyperborea to try and find other, I guess, less canon in the lore analogies to what's happening. Because there is something very ancient and beyond any one faction about this. Um, I don't really want to waste too much time on saying why Christianity is still the best bet out of all of them, because I don't want to necessarily deal with that internet fight for the day. And it's not like I'm really going to care if someone is on the side of good and they've just decided to be Muslim instead. Like, that's, again, the biggest waste of time. We have actual evil to fight. I'm not going to get stuck in all of those semantics. The oh dear, did I leave my? Where's my Starly? I'm flying around with a little Starly in my pocket. Oh no! Oh no!
I got that Starly in my front pocket for you. Why don't you reach in there and give it a little squeeze? I got a Starly in my front pocket for you. Why don't you reach in there and give it a little squeeze?
Maybe next time. I don't think we have enough time to fully give it the squeezing that it deserves until next time. But the
Oh shit! I found a star piece.
oh nice. The but pre-Hindu India. Um, if you want to learn more about it, read the works of Kautilya. He was a theorist, and I find him very interesting because when I was studying Indian philosophy in college, I found out very quickly that, again, even though everyone likes to say that all the ideologies are different and we're just so ignorant in the West of other cultures and how people do things, you read the ancient pre Hindu thinkers, and it sounds exactly like the Enlightenment era thinkers when they were doing what we call the modern movement. Talking about empirical evidence and proof through what we now call the scientific method. The idea of viewing reality as something that was observable and studyable and that we could determine the truth of things from. I don't think this is the city where you go to. I don't think this is where you go in order to sail to a new location. Let's try Department Store City. But if you look at pre-Hindu India, not only do you have this, very modern ideology, you also have an ideology that was rooted in witchcraft and magic. They believed that, again, you could change whatever you wanted to change just with the power of your thoughts, or really beyond the idea of wish it, want it, will it. You have the ability to deceive other people into believing whatever you want. And because of that, everyone became a piece of shit. Everyone was lying. Everyone had, only their own interest at heart. Everyone was deeply cynical. Nobody really wanted to pursue anything. Everyone was just stabbing each other in the back. Nobody trusted anyone. And society fell because that's what happens. That's what they're getting at with the collapse. That's what they're getting at with the idea that we are fundamentally harming ourselves. That we are, God, where do I go? Again, it's almost fitting that in our saga tonight of spiritual quests, we seem to be wandering around in the dark. But no, prior to that, that had been the reigning view of people in India, and they actually believed in the four elements: earth, fire, wind, and water, in the same way that the pre-Socratic thinkers talk about. So, in many ways, you could look at philosophy as carrying on that tradition, um, which is funny because doesn't that make it a little dark-sided?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. This is where Socrates is talking about how he claimed that he was receiving visions from a daemon, Daimon, and that daemon was telling him, giving him these words or giving him things to say. He wasn't schizophrenic. He was actually referencing an ancient religion that calls your daemon like your holy guardian angel, or in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, when everyone has their magical avatar that comes out of them, that would be like your HGA. Uh,
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember what those are called.
oh yeah,
Oh my,
again,
your
dude,
stand,
this is baked into
stand.
everything. There are references to this kind of stuff everywhere, and as soon as you start diving into it, you start seeing it everywhere. Harry Potter is loaded with it. In fact, I always thought the series was kind of stupid because the fan base is. But
No,
J.K.
no,
Rowling knows her
no.
shit.
You're not allowed to hate Harry Potter. I'm the only person that's allowed to hate Harry Potter.
I don't hate
Me.
Harry Potter. I just hate the
I
people who make Harry Potter their entire existence. There's a difference. It's like Steven Universe. It's definitely not for kids, but I do enjoy it. It's just like, oh god, as soon as the weird dyed hair people show up and they start trying to juxtapose, human sexuality onto what is clearly meant to be an alien physiology and conveying something much larger than just mere sex. But again, we can't do that because it's very obvious that the people who made it want it to be about sex. God, where is the city that has the pirate? I just need the pirate. I just want to go to find the pirate so that we can have everything set up for next week. I just want to be a consummate professional, guys. That's all. But no, the this was, oh right, I forgot. He's in the building. He's not in the dock. He's in the building.
Why would the
God.
pirate be and any location that has anything to do with a pirate? Like,
Yeah, see
of
this right
course.
here. This is Hoenn. This is Hoenn right here in its essence. Its fundamental essence.
A hoe, but she's definitely a hoe in
Hoenn
here.
is fundamentally broken. There's nothing we can do. We can only wait for the inevitable collapse that has occurred in history time and time again and will occur again. We must find our own way, build our own institutions, so that when things finally do collapse, when this incompetence and amorality and stupidity have finally rotted all of our institutions, we need to make sure that we have institutions that are good, that are reliable, that care about people, so that when the collapse comes, we don't go the same way of Soviet Russia.
Hmm. Or maybe we want to go the extreme collapsed way of Soviet Russia and make ape soldiers where we take human heads and put them on ape bodies. No, okay, I went a little sci-fi. I
Oh,
went a little
Hocus.
sci-fi, just a hair sci-fi, because they didn't
No,
take human heads and put
Hocus.
them on ape bodies. But
Hocus, you're literally, how do I put this? We're going to have a conversation about Neuralink later tonight, and I'm going to show you some videos by a man named Dr. Bill Deagle. You'll find him very interesting. The man who believes Alex Jones is controlled opposition. Uh, and second of all, oh man, you have no idea the things you're touching on, Hocus, the wisdom that you're spitting. And I wish we had more time for that, but it appears that we are at the end for tonight. Next time, we will be adventuring into the Unova region, the America region. We're going to learn all about the ways that Team Rocket's figured out how to use gun control and social justice to take over the planet, just like Globo Homo. Until next time, praise God and hail Satan.